So for today's topic, I don't have any clever intros or jokes to talk about in this video, as this is going to be a very serious, tragic, and unfortunate topic. We have a cruise director that has, unfortunately, and allegedly at this point in time, because there's nothing but news articles, a cruise director for an MSC ship that has taken their life on Valentine's Day. Now, before we dive into this, I do want to give my sincere condolences to the friends, family, and loved ones of cruise director Gene Young, as well as extend my condolences to the MSC family as well. I can't imagine what everybody is feeling, how heartbreaking, how tragic this entire situation is. But as most of you know, I do talk about these kind of things because as a former crew member, I do believe that this does send a very strong message, and I'm going to talk about it in this video. So, according to multiple news articles, and there have been some statements made by friends as well, Gene Young suffered from depression. And honestly, if you had ever met the guy, you probably wouldn't notice it if you didn't have somebody in your family or within your friend group that has suffered with the same type of mental illness. I met Gene Young on three separate occasions throughout the years, one time on the MSC Meraviglia and twice on the MSC Seascape, MSC's newest ship, one time back in December of 2022 during the maiden voyage of the first sailing ever for the ship, and just a couple weeks ago when I was on board with my girlfriend Lauren and her dad and his girlfriend. Now, I gotta say, Gene was such a bright light. He was a very, very funny guy, very charismatic. He had a lot of energy, and he brought a lot of, I want to say, life into the world whenever he spoke, and he just had such a presenter voice. It was unmistakable. It was absolutely crazy the way this man spoke and how he had so much energy throughout the day as he made announcements first thing in the morning, up until him introducing every single show that went on during the evening hours. Now, one thing I vividly remember about seeing Gene was that every couple nights or so, probably every other night during each cruise, when I went on twice, I would see him at the nightclub. And he was never on the dance floor with some of the other crew that might be there or just hanging out with them. He typically would stay over in the corner of the bar and just kind of look around at people, just kind of taking in the environment. I went over and spoke to him a couple times, and it kind of gave off the vibe that, yes, he was a very social person, a very good man, very kind man. I do have family of mine that do suffer from depression, and there are always telltale signs when somebody just simply isn't happy. You can always see like a fake smile or them just kind of wanting to try to fit and belong somewhere. I'm not saying that's exactly what I got from Gene, but whenever I did see him over in the nightclub, something did seem off, and I'm not trying to pinpoint exactly what led to the situation because obviously that is not my place to do so. But what I mean to say is, you never know what somebody is truly going through. I don't want to talk about this situation in general because I don't know all the details. I do know that this man, he had a fiance, he had a child, he was a father, and to see something like this actually happen, it's absolutely heartbreaking. I'll be honest with all of you. There's not a lot of things that get me, I guess I want to say, angry. But one thing that bothers me above all is when I'm on a cruise ship and I see people being rude and angry with crew members that have done absolutely nothing wrong. You, as a passenger, have had a bad experience and you decide to take it out on the crew member for whatever reason. I will never, for the life of me, understand that. Because you have to understand the mindset of somebody that has worked on ships or somebody that is away from their friends and family for extended periods of time. I don't mean to make this about myself, but since I don't understand this gentleman, Jing Young's life entirely, I can't sit here and talk about what he has gone through. But just to give you guys some understanding, back when I got my first contract for the Harlem Globetrotters, and this was years, about half a decade before I even worked on ships, I had my son at 17. And for me, it was something that I was constantly ridiculed because I wasn't making any money. I was a pizza delivery boy and working at a theme park making $15 an hour with part-time hours, and I was struggling. And I got a job offer for the Harlem Globetrotters, and when I got that, everybody from my son's mom to friends were talking about how horrible of a person I am to just abandon and leave my son. And you got to understand that when I got there to the Globetrotters on tour, which by the way, we would leave on Christmas every year for 6 years, hard. We opened presents and we would leave. And mentally on my mind, even though I was making good money, more than enough money to support myself and my son, people would still talk and it would naturally sit in my mind if I'm doing the right thing. I would question this. So what do you think the crew members, which I felt that too when I worked for Norwegian as well, what do you think the crew members are thinking on their mind 24/7 while they are still trying to give all of you the best quality experience as possible? There were a lot of eternal battles and a lot of things on the minds of the crew members as they are away from all of their friends, family, loved ones for extended amounts of time. If you look at everything that went on during the pandemic, I won't even give you guys the number, but there were countless, and I mean countless amounts of crew members that took their own lives during the pandemic because they felt like they had no out. They were stuck in their cabin and they had no idea if they still had a career after this. The cruise ship industry was going to go belly up. It was just a very stressful situation. Now, imagine, let's say, Gene Young. He is the only American cruise director, primarily around Italians, even on the MSC scape, that have complaints and have all of these issues while he's also juggling whatever situation's going on back at home with his child and with his fiance. And there's just so many other elements. I'm not saying that was a factor that contributed to him taking the action that he did on Valentine's Day. My point is that there are so many elements that are involved with somebody's life. It's crazy to me that so many people are just so inconsiderate to the point to where they are willing to give somebody a hard time simply because they are having a bad day, even if that person they are giving a hard time to had absolutely nothing to do with the problem that they were dealing with. To be clear here, I don't want to make this a rant in any way, shape, or form. I believe, like I said, the awareness is important, and I watched firsthand because, as most of you know, if you see me on the ship, I am friendly, I am kind, but I'm also very vigilant. I'm always looking around and seeing what's going on. I would see Gene Young all times of the day, first thing in the morning, afternoon, running around out and about in the ship, out at night. I would see the problems that we'd have to deal with. I would see people yelling at him, and there were people in Italian yelling at him in Italian. He doesn't speak Italian, so he has to wait for his assistant to get there. Again, while at the same time having to deal with the duties of his role, which, by the way, I would never be a cruise director. I think I've told you guys that. It's a lot of work. I gave that man so much respect when I actually got to talk to him because there ain't no way. I personally don't have the strength to do it, but this is a very strong man, very capable man, very talented man, and I would see all the stuff he would deal with on a day to day on top of dealing with his normal life. I think you guys all understand what I'm saying. Anyway, I don't mean to sound like a broken record here. It's just absolutely heartbreaking to see stuff like this take place and to hear about it, especially when, for me personally, I was just with this guy just a couple weeks ago, and he seemed so healthy. He seemed happy for the most part, which is absolutely insane to me. My reminder to all of you guys, just treat everybody with kindness, especially crew, but just in general, treat people with kindness. I get hate every day. People don't understand what goes on in the back end. They don't know what family tribulations and problems that I have to deal with, yet I'm this horrible guy because I make cruise videos. And I'm not making this video about me once again. I'm just giving you guys an example from a different perspective because maybe some people don't see everything that goes on in the back end when it comes to whether you are a cruise director or a YouTuber or anything of that nature. Everyone is going through something, and that is the point that I'm trying to make here. Just everybody out there, please treat everybody better. It is absolutely insane what's happening in the world today. People take something that is positive and they turn it into negative. They take a horrible situation and they still talk about the person. And I understand the world is not fair. The world is not this heavenly place where everything is good and happy all the time. But man, I see a lot of things that happen in this world, and it's absolutely crazy. But guys, just treat everybody better. That was the message. Anyway, I know this isn't the typical cruise news or advice or reviews or anything like that, but I do have more of that coming. As usual, guys, let me know your thoughts on this stuff. Of course, my condolences once again to all the friends, family, loved ones, MSC family, to Gene Young. Hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel, guys. All that good stuff. And I love and appreciate every single one of you. I'll see you later. Take it easy.